Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the August 23rd, 2022 regular meeting of the Everett Public School Board of Directors to order. Director Mason, will you please present the land acknowledgement?
Yes, I'd be honored to. Thank you. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Coast Salish, Snohomish, and Tulalip peoples. We express our deepest respect and gratitude to the ancestors of this land, on whose shoulders we stand. In Everett Public Schools, we strive to create equitable outcomes and build a culture of inclusive belonging for all students, teachers, staff, and community.
Thank you very much, Director Mason. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, everyone. Will the secretary please call the roll?
President Lissain.
Present.
Vice President Mitchell.
Present.
Director Herman.
Present.
Director Mason.
Present.
Thank you very much. Our first item of business will be the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Salzman, would you introduce tonight's agenda?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Directors, and to the public this evening. Tonight's agenda contains the following: a segment for recognitions, the superintendent's report, segment for board comments, segment for public comments, segment for routine business, segment for new business, and a segment for upcoming agenda items. Since publishing the agenda, the following change was made to the agenda. Item 7.01, the superintendent's report, the presentation was added. Item 10.02, approval of the personnel report, the report was updated. And item 14.01, adoption of resolution 1297, operating budget for fiscal year 23-24, presentation was updated. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Salzman. Is there a motion for the adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Director Herman and seconded by Director Mitchell to adopt tonight's agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, let's proceed to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. The motion carries and the agenda is adopted. We'll now move to section 6.0, which is recognitions. And we have new recognitions of new administrative staffs. Our presenter is Ms. Clevenger.
I am so excited to be here with you tonight to introduce our two new special services directors. I'm going to introduce Heather Brown, and then she'll say something, and then I'll introduce Katie. So Heather's returning to Everett Public Schools as a special services director. She previously filled a role from 2015 to 2019 before moving to Seattle Public Schools as a director of early learning. Prior to her first time in Everett, Heather was a special education supervisor and consulting teacher in Seattle. She earned her Bachelor's of Arts in Sociology and Early Childhood Education from the University of Connecticut. She earned her Master's in Teaching as well as her special education, I read that already, sorry, from endorsement from City University in Seattle, and she received her administrative and principal credentials from Seattle Pacific University. And a little known fact, Heather and I used to teach together in Seattle a long time ago.
Hi, everyone. Hi, board. Thank you so much for having me. And I am just thrilled to be back in such a great department and great district. So off to do good work this year in special services.
Thank you and welcome.
This is Katie Ramon, and she accepted the Special Services Director 3 position. She was originally in our office a facilitator. Katie, I have to just say this, that Katie was almost solely responsible for helping us get our Safety Net Award this year, and we just received it today, actually, so that was really great. So she was a facilitator. She joined Everett in 2019 as a special education resource room teacher at Heatherwood Middle School. Prior to her time in Everett, Katie taught math in Boston Public Schools. She was awarded Teacher of the Year by Boston Partners in Education. Katie earned her Bachelor's of Arts in Economics and Political Science from the University of Washington, and she earned her Master's in Education from the University of Massachusetts. Katie earned a graduate certificate in creative educational leadership from Boston University and holds endorsements in special education, middle school mathematics, and English language learners. Katie is currently enrolled in a post-secondary courses, working towards her doctorate in education. Katie's a passion for inclusive practices. She believes all students, inclusive of ability, language, race, culture, gender identity, and socioeconomic status, have the right to achieve their highest potential, supported by a culture of belonging and an ethics of care.
Good evening. It's such a joy to be here today and to serve Everett Public Schools as the Director of Special Services. I'm so excited to champion our strategic plan and to champion it such that all students achieve the priority student outcomes.
Thank you so very much. Let's give these ladies a round of applause and welcome them back.
Can we ask how much the Safety Net Award check was for today? The Safety Net?
It's about 4.1 million.
Okay.
Oh,
Another round of applause.
You guys need to stand right in front of them. Yeah. Yes, I do.
welcome.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Does this work?
Oh, wait, advice, all right.
Oh, that's perfect. Ready? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We're all about the pictures.
Thank you so much. We'll now move to section 7.0, which is our superintendent's report. Dr. Salzman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board of Directors, and the public this evening. First of all, it's always nice to see people that come back to the system
Yes.
and then grow from within the system on 2 great hires. So congratulations to both of them. Want to update you on the Summer Academy. 700 students took place in our Summer Academy, and especially our middle school students getting into that groove, and certainly want to congratulate them for that. Last Thursday night was a special night because it was our 25 students that graduated in summer commencement. And these students really had to overcome a great deal to get there. So kudos to them and their families. And I want to thank Dr. Willard and all her success coordinators and educators for helping those students cross the line to get their diplomas. A great, great accomplishment. Well, a few weeks ago, we had another amazing Great Leadership Institute to kick off the year as we celebrated the We. We focused on developing strong teams and the importance of developing team norms. Focus on student achievement for all was at the forefront, and I want to salute the principals, the assistant principals, the operations team, and the cabinet for an outstanding leadership institute. Amazing job. Thank you. The Everett Public Schools Foundation, led by the team of Kate Fanton, was able to gather donations, pack and deliver over 3,400 backpacks, 3,400 backpacks to our students and families. It makes such a huge difference when a student can come into school with backpacks and materials. So it really means a lot for our community. I want to thank the entire staff, the board, families, and everybody that volunteered a weekend ago to donate the supporting and lending a hand assistance. And I will tell you, it's a great way to bring the community together and great way to honor our students in this community. As you can see, some amazing photos there of the team. We had a job fair. August 8th, the Community Resource Center was buzzing with activity. And that's what I really want to emphasize, buzzing with activity. More than 120 people attended our job fair, and 43 walked away with different jobs in our system. 38 applicants expressed interest in being placed in the classified substitution pool as well, and that's huge. As you know, during these times of substitutes, 38 wanted to be substitutes in our system, so that really will help us, and we want to thank them. I want to have a special kudos to the entire Human Resource Department as they came together, led by Dr. Golden, to answer questions, assist with applications, provide excellent customer service. Everybody on that team and everybody in the system was here for long hours to make sure that we are customer friendly to welcome people to our system, and it made a huge difference in this building and across our system. Want to update you on summer projects because, as you know, it doesn't end during the summer. Matter of fact, for the facilities department, it keeps going as well. But we have a new boiler that's being lowered at Silver Lake Elementary School, being replaced as one of the last 2016 bond projects coming through. So that boiler was on the bond projects, and it's, as you can see, being lifted in and being placed, okay? They also completed 3 roofing projects this summer. 2 buildings at Cedarwood and the main building at the Everett High School, home of the Gulls, and the west half of Lowell Elementary School. 5 portables are being placed at 3 schools before school starts: Penny Creek, Tambar Creek, and Mill Creek Elementary School. So I want to thank Mike Gunn and his entire team for a huge thank you to make sure that when we open up school, the facilities department is up and ready to go for our youngsters. Everett Ready Star this week, and I was privileged to be there today at View Ridge and to see more than, well, we had more than 1,000 students at 18 elementary schools, but to be there today to see these youngsters come in and be greeted by not only the amazing office staff that's there and the amazing principal, but the teacher ready to teach and get these kids ready for the biggest transition of their life. And it was just really exciting. And to explain what Everett Ready is to our community, it's a transition to kindergarten program which prepares our newest students to a great start to kindergarten, ready, preparing our newest youngsters to be ready opening day. Again, to Ann Arnold and her amazing team for the great work, and to all the schools that are hosting, thank you so much. This morning, well, you guys get that picture up really quick, was the new hire orientation that kicked off with great energy this morning. There were 54 new certificated staff joining our district, and we were so excited for them to be part of our team, led by Mimi Brown and her great team for the orientation. And when we talk about people, watching those eyes to gleam to be ready for opening day, and my words of wisdom was this: I lost 3 kids by lunch, but they came back before school got out, so we eased the tension in the room and was glad to see them. And then school's going to be starting. I woke up today, it's 2 weeks from tomorrow. So there's very important questions that we can answer to our community, and we will continue sharing that in the next few weeks. But want to let you know now that the bus schedules are on the website. Families will be getting phone calls today and Thursday. Maybe some of you have already gotten those phone calls, so you know where to pick up your bus, so you don't have to wait till the last minute. Those calls came out today. Class schedules for all our youngsters will be available by September 1st. School supply lists are on every school site right now, and school websites are updated. So to our community, you'll see some presentations coming up, but we are excited for the school year to begin and want you to know that right now, some of those things are already happening for you. So I want to thank you for your support and appreciate you being there today. Madam Chair, giving a great speech to the new teachers and new staff. Thank you.
Thank you. It was fun. It was fun. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Salzman. We shall now move to section 8.0, which is our board comments. And the purpose of our board comments is to share what directors and representatives have encountered through their work in the district, in the community, or at their liaison schools. So I'm going to now turn the tides over to our board and find out. We'll start over.
You want me to start? If you want to gather your stuff, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I wrote my stuff down. So first off, for personally, my daughter is back in Pennsylvania for her senior year in college. So fingers crossed that Director Mason and I will get to see a child graduate college in May, or school in May, college especially. I would like to say too that we might all comment on this, but last week the board spent 2 days at a retreat which, just so the community knows, it really is for us to plan, learn, do some goal setting. That this year we had a consultant from WASDA, which is our state leadership organization for the school boards, who I really appreciated her perspective, having been a former board member, and helping us see things a little bit differently, and really having us focus on really the impact that we can have. We had students there as a panel. Just really appreciated. They were from the three comprehensive high schools. How honest and open they were, just about how the technology is integrated in the schools. How the school regulates Instagram, so we did confirm that. And just how they communicate with each other. And lastly, for the new hires, I was thinking about this for the fact that on the personnel report tonight, we have some paras who are transitioning to be certificated teachers. And what a great celebration that is to really grow our own, but also to recognize the paras who remain in their role, because it does take both the paras and the teachers to serve the students. And so celebrate those who do advance, but for those that it is the right role, really to celebrate them as well. That both of those positions, those different, the dichotomy that is there, I think is important. So that I just am so excited that we had the last day of school. Now we have the last meeting of the school year, and in December we'll have the end of the school year. So whatever. Kind of confusing.
Director Herman. Welcome back, everyone. This is actually really great to be back and getting started again. 2 weeks until the start of school, but I am so impressed with the work around the district and how much has gone into this year already and getting it off to a good start. I'm just going to touch on a couple of things. Everett Ready, I was able to, I missed Dr. Salzman, but I also went to go see Everett Ready in action today. And absolutely, it's wonderful that we as a district can offer that at all of our elementary schools, the participation in there, and just getting those kindergartners, incoming, just that start, and not just the students, but the parents. It was really fun to see. So thank you also to Director Arnold and to Tina Wood over at View Ridge. Ditto on the board retreat. I thought wonderful 2 days. Thank you to the superintendent's office and our board chair for organizing those 2 days. It was time well spent. We were able to discuss a lot of different topics, and so I just thought that was a really great start to the year. And I'm looking forward to working on our board goals that we set for ourselves. And then the last thing, just to touch on something we haven't mentioned yet that was over the summer. I was able to do a couple of listen in on presentations from the Everett Career Link program that was taking place over the summer, and listen to student presentations. So just really appreciative of that partnership with industry leaders and getting our students connected. And once again, kind of like the student panel at the retreat, it was fun to hear because our students are really sharp and they're doing some great thinking out there. It kind of reminded me of the AP seminar presentations. And so lots of great things happening over the summer. We still have 2 weeks, but I have a great feeling about the school year.
Thank
Director
you.
Mason.
I too would like to reiterate about, our board workshop. It's always a great opportunity, and just how great it was to sit down with the students and talk to them. I think that's a highlight for all of us. I did also want to touch on something that is in our consent agenda tonight, and I just want to throw it out there for food for thought as we go into the school year, and we're coming out of the summer. I was noticing that expenditures this year, although they haven't all come in because this is the June financial report, they are down for our summer academy because of budget reductions. And the years prior, we had federal funding to help us support those students throughout the summer, which the state, I will remind the community, does not pay for or give us funding for. But then also prior, when I looked back at 2019, we had a more, I believe, robust summer program. And I guess my question in looking at all those different dollars is sort of what is the impact of our summer program, and how long should it be, and what should we offer? And, in prior years, we've had enrichment, which doesn't necessarily have to be free for all students. I think at one point had DigiPen come in and actually host classes here in the district, so our students could take advantage of that. We also, typically have extended language learning, English language learning going on in the summer. And language, as we all know, is something that the more you practice, the better you get. So certainly taking several months off in the summer isn't beneficial to those students that are trying to get to a level with some of their English-speaking peers and then be able to grasp, of course, the material and curriculum. And then obviously, credit recovery is a great opportunity for our high school students who have fallen a little bit behind to catch up. But my real big question is, what does English language arts look like and what does math look like over the summer for the students that are a bit behind? And how can we design programs that truly are impactful to those students? And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what we've done in the past, but how do we also not only design that, but measure it to make sure that what we're putting into it, both dollars and resources, that we're getting out of it what we had hoped. So I just put that out there as it was a wondering I had as I went through the financials to better understand as we move through the school year and we get ready to support some of these students who are still struggling from pandemic loss, or I don't say loss because they never had it. So just need the ability to take in a little more. So I guess I'll end with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Mason. Well, I too would like to comment and say that I really enjoyed our board retreat. I looked at it as more of a team building effort for the board itself and Dr. Salzman as a superintendent, because we work on our goals for the upcoming years. And that's the board goals as well as the superintendent goals. And then we tie them to our strategic plan, which is very important because there are several student priority outcomes that we measure and look at every year. And we want to make sure that we're all working together and there is a link to what we do. So I really enjoyed that portion of it. I can't say enough about the students forum that we had. It was outstanding. And I would like to thank Dr. Scott, Brian Beckley, and Dave Peters for their work in identifying and bringing in the right mix to engage with us, because they did an awesome job. The students did an awesome job. They gave us, what they use as far as social media, so we get an idea of how they use social media and also what they see in social media about harassment and bullying and those type of perspective. And I think we were all able to take away some information from them. And I know Dr. Scott, Dave Peters, and Brian Beckley will be working on some of those ideas that they generated with us, and hopefully make it a lot easier for other students who come into the district using the technology that we have, and ensuring that their well-being is best at heart. So we had an outstanding group of kids, and it's just amazing. I would like to thank you very much for doing that. Any further comments? Hearing none, we're going to move right along. We'll be now moving to section 9.0, which is our public comment section. The board specifically sets aside this time during the regular board meeting to hear from our constituents. We do this because we value public input and we want to hear and understand the perspectives you bring to the table. Remember that this is a time for the board to listen to what you have to say. It is not for debate or discussion. Board members will not respond to individual comments. And I see here that we have one individual who will be coming forward. And she is Miss Judy Hanks. She's a professional development for paras she's be speaking on. And she is one of our paras at Monroe Elementary. Ms. Hanks, please come forward. Hi. Now, You will have 3 minutes, and there's 3 little blips on the top of the lectern right there.
Okay.
The first one would be a green one, which says you still have more time.
Okay.
And the orange one will indicate that you have 30 seconds left. And then the the red one will indicate your time is up.
Okay. I probably won't take that long.
Okay.
I am, as you said, a paraeducator with Monroe Elementary. I've been a paraeducator with the Everett School District since 2005 as a paid employee. I've been with the district since 1993 when my son started kindergarten at Emerson Elementary. He went to Emerson Eisenhower Cascade. Later, my daughter went to Emerson Eisenhower Cascade. My husband, way back when, went to Monroe Eisenhower Cascade. I'm the odd man out. Anyway, so I find this school district, I have passion for it. I have passion for the students. I have passion for my role. When I started as an employee in 2005, I was a noon duty supervisor, and I did resource room as well. Loved it, loved getting my feet in there. I loved helping the kids. I then went to a different avenue, and I did crossing guard for a couple of years. And in between, I substituted all over the district till I finally found my niche, which was health room assistant, which is what I do now since 2014. Love it. I am passionate about my job. I love my job. I've seen a lot of changes in the Everett School District, some good, some bad, some not so whatever, but they come and they go, right? You just kind of ride the wave out and keep going. And that's what I do, and that's what I plan on doing until I retire. Don't know when that's going to be, but I'm older, so it might be sooner than we all think. I'm trying to pull up my notes here, so sorry. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention when I was looking for when to do the board was I noticed you guys have an immunization clinic this year. So excited. I see that that's going to be posted or given on the 29th. I've been asking for that since 2008. I've been wanting that to get those kiddos immunized and help those families out. I know I did that as a youth. We always had it at school, and it was so much easier for my mom who had 6 kids. So it was easy. It was nice. I have appreciated all the professional development I've had over the years. Back in the day, it was a little bit easier as far as you'd go online. You had 10 hours minimum you had to do every year. You go online, you sign up for those courses, and you take them during the school year. And you sign up for them during the school year. Since, I believe it's 2018, when the state required the fundamental course of study and other professional development for paras, and then COVID happened, everything went online and it went Zoom. And since it's gone on Zoom, the frustration for me lies with those courses are not provided for us to register for in May and June during our work time to schedule for August that we know we have to come back and do. Instead, we are called on our vacation, which y'all know is precious. Our vacation time is precious. We're called to sign up for those courses during our vacation time. If we don't sign up for those during our vacation time, courses could possibly be full and we can't take those courses, which some of those courses are required for our position. So that's my frustration. And I guess my question or want is, please talk with the district. You guys have more pull than I do, and have those courses available for all paras to sign up for in May and June, instead of having to do it during our precious time with our families during the summertime.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll respond via mail, and we'll get that answers back to you. Thank you. Okay, we shall now move to section 10.0, which is our consent agenda. Dr. Saltzman, would you provide an introduction to the consent agenda for us this evening?
Yes, I will. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, Board Directors, and the public. The board's consent agenda includes repetitive business items such as meeting minutes, personnel actions, expense vouchers, surplus lists, gifts and grants, and recurring contracts. Sometimes it includes items that occur less frequently but are of a routine business nature. These items are usually reviewed by the board in the Friday report, 1 or more weeks before the board meeting. This gives directors time to ask staff questions or to consider discussion about the policy implications of those items. The board votes on the consent agenda in a single motion. By its definition, a consent agenda is not debatable. In the case of this consent agenda, the superintendent's office did not receive any questions regarding the consent agenda. The consent agenda is presented as published for board approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saltzman. I see here there is 36 items on the consent agenda. It's rather big. A motion to adopt a consent agenda is in order.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Director Mason and seconded by Director Herman to approve the consent agenda. Does any director wish to remove an item from the consent agenda, place it under new business section of the agenda to be heard? Hearing no requests, we'll now proceed to the vote. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. We'll now move to section 11.0. There are no strategic progress monitoring reports scheduled for the strategic progress monitoring section this evening. We'll now move to section 12.0. There are no information/discussion items scheduled for the information discussion section this evening. We'll now move to section 13.0, which is unfinished business. There are no unfinished business scheduled items for this meeting this evening. Moving on to section 14.0, we do have an item in that section. This is going to be the adoption of the resolution 1297, the operating budget for fiscal year 23-24. And this, I will just give the public a synopsis of what's going to happen. Ms. Tress will present the proposed budget. We will ask for a motion. Once the motion is made and seconded, we will then open for a public hearing on the proposed resolution and then request for any public comments. Once that is done, we will then close the gavel and then we'll proceed to vote on the motion. Ms. Tuss, please go ahead and present this evening's proposed operating budget for fiscal year 2023-24.
Thank you, Board of Directors, Dr. Saltzman, and community members. I'm very excited. I didn't have any technical difficulties not being here for a few months, so it's always nice when I don't struggle to share our screen. So today I will provide a brief presentation on the 23-24 operating budget and a recommendation to the board of approval of resolution 1297, adoption of the operating budget for the fiscal year 23-24. This presentation allows for the community to see the prescribed process for adopting the budget, but it also informs the board and our community of any changes since the first reading of the operating budget presented in June of 27th, 2023. I want to kind of go over this slide. This slide highlights key dates around the budget hearing and adoption process. We're required to make the budget available for the public by July 10th on an annual basis. We also must hold a public hearing and an adoption of that budget. The district also provides this information upfront, as we did in June, to receive public feedback, and as of this moment, we've received no public comments. In addition, I want to inform the board and our community that there have been no changes since the first reading of the 23-24 operating budget. So again, I just want to remind everyone, our budget information is on our website for available to see, and that there was a recording of our first reading of the budget. I also want to kind of highlight this table shows a comparison of the 23. When I say this year, I mean the 22-23 fiscal year that we're currently in. I know often we are looking at this year as being next year's, but I'm still in this year. It's a budget to budget comparison. So next year's budget of the 23-24 budget. Couple things to highlight is that our beginning fund balance, it's going to be high. We anticipate it to be higher than our budgeted fund balance, and I also anticipate our budgeted fund balance for next year to be higher than what we're thinking now as projections are rolling in for the end of the fiscal year. I also want to highlight that we do anticipate a spend down of fund balance again to our 5% of total expenditures of about $4.2 to $4.3 million, and that we do anticipate future reductions in the future. As we look at a breakdown of our fund balance, the restricted, committed, and assigned fund balance is really the committed for purposes in the future for specific funding like our CTE funding or prepaid expenditures that we have to pay in this year for next year. Our unassigned balance also has flexibility in what we spend it on. We do also have a board policy of what our unassigned fund balance would be, and that's projected to be 3.5%, and our board policy is at 2.5%. So we anticipate it to be higher. I want to talk a little bit about enrollment, and this is an illustration of our enrollment. So the top table is our October 1 head count, so that's student seats as of students in our seats as of October 1st. And that bottom section is our annual average FTE. And the first row is our budget for this year. And then the second column is our actuals for this year, and we were right in line from our budget to actuals. Looking to next year, what we're budgeting is a decline in enrollment. And the way we project enrollment is we use a consultant, Les Kendrick, and he provides us information as a low, medium, high anticipated enrollment. Last year we used the low projections, and this year we're going in between medium and low, partially because the consistency in what we're seeing in the past around enrollment isn't there because of the pandemic, and we're still really not seeing the patterns that we've had in the past, so we need to be conservative. It is also easier to add than take back. And so we do build in the budget for additional enrollment as well as capacity. So as we start to see things, if we need to, we do have capacity to hire as needed if enrollment goes higher than we anticipated. Again, this is our actual head count. We anticipate we're projecting 125 lower than our budget than our actual from last year. Looking at a comparison of budgeted revenues in the general fund, we anticipate a slight increase in revenues for next year or the 23-24 fiscal year, and this is primarily due to an increase in state-funded IPD, as well as an increase in our special education funding. Our local non-tax increases is due to a decline in anticipated transportation safety net revenues that we had budgeted last year when we're not budgeting for next year. We're also seeing a decline in our federal special purposes, and that is really primarily due to the COVID or one-time federal funding going away next year. Comparing our budgeted expenditures by program, overall, we're seeing a decline in our expenditures, and this is primarily driven in our federal special purposes or our COVID one-time funding driven there. We're also seeing slight declines throughout based on our reduction plan, and this really aligns with what our anticipated and budgeted enrollment is. Breaking down our expenditures by object code is kind of what we spend our money on. Over 85% of our budget, again, is staff, and we're seeing a decline there. And one of the bigger decline is our employee benefits of about $8.4 million. And this is really a reduction in our benefit rates, but that is offset by a reduction in our revenues. We are funded for some of those benefit rates. We have planned budgeted declines in our supplies and materials, and this was due to our reduction plan. And then this is offset by an increase in purchase services, and so those are kind of our service contracts, increases in anticipated utilities and insurance that we're required to pay. The multi-year forecast, as you can see here, we're forecasting a projected ending fund balance of 5% over the next 4 years, and we are anticipating continued reductions in the future years. And this is really based on the fact that the state funding doesn't increase at the same rate as our local funding, as well as the same rate as our federal funding. And so as we anticipate staffing cost increases and increases overall, we don't see that same level of funding increase as the cost of doing business and providing the services we need to provide, and also to maintain that level of services the district really wants to provide. One thing I want to highlight, we went into a reduction, a really large reduction for this year's budget, and the focus was really maintaining those services that we could provide to the students, and we did that going into next year's budget, and we'll continue to have to manage those budgets unless we have shifts in the way our funding is and manage our expenses going forward around that. Looking at our 4 other comprehensive funds, the capital fund is one of our other largest funds, and you'll see here that our fund balance sort of fluctuates year over year, and this is really to align with our levy and project plan cash flows. Our debt service fund is utilized to maintain our outstanding bonds and principals, and you'll see some slight declines in our debt service fund. And this is again to align with our bond repayment schedules and the fact that we're not anticipating to issue new bonds. The ASB Body Fund, one of my favorite ones, because I love all the kiddo activities and see the fun things that they get to do. What we're seeing here is a slight decline with flattening out in the future years. And the one thing I want to highlight about the ASB is that we've started, this year alone, we've seen just the increase in activity and the anticipated use of those funds. So we're really excited that the kids get to actually kind of get to involve their community in a more, a less online way. And then lastly, our transportation vehicle fund. This fund is for the purchase of our buses. We do budget to the max we can going forward, which next year will be $390,000, which is approximately 3 buses if need be in the next future years. And just want to highlight too that last year we were able to buy electric buses for the district as well. Thank you. And again, I'd like to make the recommendation to approve Board Resolution 1297, the 23-24 operating budget.
Thank you very much. This is the time for director discussions. Do you have any questions that you would like to ask Ms. Tress?
I'll go first. Thank you so much. You always are so gracious in answering our questions before, during, after meetings. We really appreciate it. Could you go back to slide 6 real quick? For the head count compared to the actual, I was curious on looking at the numbers, elementary, that for it actually increases. Is that a factor of early childhood being added in? What is driving that the October head count versus the annual average is typically higher?
Typically at the elementary, we see an increase on average in our enrollment over there. So from the October 1 seats, and we'll see additional seats coming throughout.
Okay, so that is typical that we're, okay. And then this next year, we're thinking just a slower, but a slower increase. So the middle and high school, we're typically seeing the.
Yes, and so we rely heavily on our consultants' data for the kindergarten rate, and then we also look at by grade level the roll-ups and what our typical kind of roll-ups and attrition is every year in regards to those changes. And so we do look at that when we do an analysis of our budget as well. Okay. And then I think we came in and wanting to be conservative again. We haven't had that consistency in pattern, and so last year we did use the low projections for less, and we were right in line from where we landed. And again, it's easier to add than it is to take back when you kind of talk about staffing and that pieces of it. And so we do monitor that, especially at the kindergarten rate right now.
Yeah, when you think about so much of our funding comes comes from the state, and the line, it's driven by enrollment. So those numbers really are driving so much of this discussion.
Yeah, and so I would just want to highlight, like, October 1 is also a very key date for us when it comes to the enrollment count, because that really tells us, okay, what we think we're going to land, because that's a pretty consistent date for us to project out for the end of the fiscal year and be pretty close to where we're at. So any changes in funding we'll be able to add to our projections for you going forward. And then one other thing I didn't mention that I meant to mention was that we will be providing monthly updates to the board as well. I really love that we're being consumers of the budget, and I do actually enjoy the questions, because then I can get into the details and then provide you that information that you need.
Yeah, we've been enjoying it too, I would say. And just because we are anticipating this year, one of our big factors is Four Corners opening, and that, so when students come in mid-year, that does get adjusted at that point.
Correct. And so that's something we don't have predictability in, and it's something we can't anticipate really what that looks like. And you don't want to overstaff, especially when you go into, when it can be mid-year in that regard. And so it's a challenge as a whole around that when you have the mid-year changes. But again, we do have the capacity to add more staff as needed in that regard. So.
Okay, I'm just going to close with one other thought, because it did our focus on policy at our retreat especially. I was looking back at the wording of our policy, and it is establish target minimum ending fund balances in the general fund of 5% for the total fund balance and 2.5% for the unassigned fund balance. So, which is what you said. So just recognizing in the four-year pattern, we really are. We're right there, and that is a minimum, and
we need that minimum to maintain our liabilities and to be able to pay our monthly expenditures.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I just want to say, thank you for, I don't have any questions, but this has been a very tough past 8 months with the reductions. And so I do appreciate that I do not have any questions tonight because of your clear introduction, that there were no changes since the last time we saw it. And also the fact that we had a lot of public meetings all along the way with the reductions, what was happening. And I just really appreciate how we were brought along with that. And I just want to say thank you to you and everyone else, and especially as you begin this new school year with fewer. It is going to, it is impactful.
Thank you. Director Mason.
I do have a couple questions, and I'm just going to follow on Director Herman's questions about enrollment. And I think I really understand being more conservative because we have had several years of downturn in enrollment. I guess, I think of it as at a very high level. So we have, potentially 400 students coming from Four Corners. We actually increased enrollment over last year. So I feel like we're sort of back into a new normal, whatever that looks like. And when I look at Les Kendrick's consistency of, our actuals to his projections, he's really good. He's spot on. And so, we have typically always used, other than I think last year, his mid-range projection. And so I understand that there's hesitancy to be conservative, but I also, there's just some questions in my mind that it's not all adding up with increasing enrollment this year, adding 400 students, and now we're saying we're going to be 125 down. And so it's really actually not even a question, because you have explained it very well. Thank you about why that is. But you always want your budget to be as tight as possible, not like, oh, well, he said this and this, and we're just going to go with this kind of thing. And so.
And I think as we start to see that come through, we will adjust in the future our projections in regards to that as well, too.
Yeah, going forward.
And again, I think you cannot, the one thing I want to highlight about the Four Corners is that we don't know what it's going to be, and we really can't highlight that, the one thing. And so from a perspective of staffing and enrollment piece of it. So I think that's one thing we really have to be mindful for in that regard, because we have no indicator of what that's going to be until they actually come in, so.
And on the enrollment piece also, in the forecast, you say it assumes flat enrollment, and yet our projections are that we are going to grow slightly year over year. So are you truly using flat
It's a
enrollment?
slight, when I say flat, it is a slight increase year over year, but it's a relatively flat.
And when you're doing that relative flat, are you using Les Kendrick's like middle or low or in between again? Or?
It's in between again.
Okay.
And then that's for the 4-year out, for the 4-year outlook,
Right.
yeah. And so we're also using the kind of the mid-range of the budget for the 4-year outlook as well, to finding that in-between balance of what we look at. And then what I also want to communicate is that the magnitude of what we have to do going forward is not as significant, is not as large as what we had to go through during this budget.
So that is actually, I think my last question is, do we anticipate that we're going to have to go through budget reductions again in your mind, looking at this? Because we're being asked to essentially approve an unbalanced budget tonight, which I'd much rather see them align
Right,
rather
and
than.
I think until we get them aligned, we just have to anticipate that we need to reduce at the minimum our deficit. And so that's your starting point in regards to what your reduction's looking at. Until that, especially as we're heading towards the minimum fund balance, we need to make sure that our revenues will be close to or as at our expenditures. And so we have to look at how do we manage our expenditures going forward around that. So it could be through attrition. It just depends on how really what our October 1 account is and what the state legislature looks like for the next fiscal year.
Yeah, my preference would be to have a balanced budget tonight, because we went through such a dramatic reduction this past year that having a tiny cushion in that fund balance where we're looking at a 5% 4 years out it doesn't make me nervous. It just doesn't allow for any unexpected or unanticipated highs or lows.
So what I can tell you is that our budgeted fund balance is actually lower than what I anticipate at the end of the fiscal year. And really that has shifted since the July projections, which have been provided to you. And that is because we are seeing a reduction plan in the staffing for July and August. And so I do anticipate a higher ending fund balance than budget. So I actually anticipate our ending next year to be higher than 5%. So in that regard, doing the reduction plan when we did, and it's really helped us, but we typically don't change after we've done our presentation.
There's a lot of information that comes in after you've presented, and you don't want to go through all the little tiny
So I
slides,
do
but-
believe we're going to end higher than 5% next year. And so I do feel we have the cushion. Again, so but we still need to balance our revenue and expenditures. And until we do that, we need to sort of align that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your answers and for all the work that you've put into this. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for your questions. I actually quite appreciate it, that someone's reading those long documents. So.
We might be getting what they say in the weeds a bit, but it's helpful to learn. Thank you.
Okay, then going forward, is there a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 1297 and the adoption of the operating budget for fiscal year 2023, 2024?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Director Herman and seconded by Director Mitchell. A public hearing on the proposed resolution is hereby open. Are there any public comments? Are there any online public comments? No. As there are no public comments, the public hearing on Resolution 1297, the adoption of the operating budget for fiscal year 2023, 2024 is hereby closed. Are there any further discussions before we proceed to the vote? All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. The motion carries. The board has approved Resolution 1297, the adoption of the operating budget for fiscal year 2023, 2024. Thank you very much, Ms. Stress. We'll now move to section 14.0, .02, which is our board annual meeting schedule. There's no presentation for this particular proposal. It's solely for the board to delete September 26th meeting and change the board meeting start time for next year, beginning on September the 12th. Okay. As well as, because it is a first reading on the meeting schedule, in the event that immediate action is necessary, on a proposed policy or revision to an existing policy, the motion for its adoption or revision to an existing policy shall provide that an immediate adoption is in the best interest of the district. Is there a motion for approval of the new Schedule 1400S?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the motion, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say no. The motion carries. The schedule, board annual regular meeting schedule is approved. We'll now move to section 14.03, which is policy 3204, harassment, intimidation, bullying. First reading, Mr. Fleckenstein.
Thank you and good evening. The proposed revisions to policy 3204, harassment, intimidation, or bullying, are to comply with House Bill 1207. The definition of aggressor has been updated, and it also makes clear in these revisions that this particular policy should only be used for student-to-student harassment, intimidation, and bullying events only. This clarification includes changing the title from harassment, intimidation, or bullying to harassment, intimidation, or bullying of students. For clarity for our public and staff, harassment, intimidation, or bullying towards an employee, volunteer, parent, or legal guardian, or community member are provided for in upcoming revisions to policy 5010 and its procedure 5010P, affirmative action and non-discrimination, at a future board meeting. These revisions have been previously reviewed by legal counsel and the superintendent's executive cabinet.
Any discussion, board members?
Yeah, thank you. I just have one question. Does this policy only pertain to what happens in school buildings during school hours? So that any harassment that happens outside of school buildings, outside of school hours, off school property, we have no authority over or responsibility for, and maybe I'm making that too broad?
It's always important to know that the school's authority to investigate harassment, intimidation, or bullying, or to impose discipline for student conduct has to have a reasonable school connection.
Okay.
So once that connection is established, then we would be able to, at some points, given unique circumstances, have inclusive in our investigations of harassment, intimidation, bullying events that occur off campus.
And then if a parent did have a question about that or concern, or somebody had what's the best way for them to address that? Their principal, or who should they go to?
Yeah, in this
on or off campus?
Yes, and so in this particular policy and its related procedure, the procedure outlines the reporting of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And the actual reporting form is a portion of the procedure that's attached to this policy.
Thank you for that clarity.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I just had a question on, it looked like from the House bill that for 2024, OSBI is going to be directed to develop the model student handbook around this in conjunction with WASDA education ombuds, and then all school districts will be required to use that as a framework. Do you have background, or actually that exact language, I should say?
I think whenever written into law or House bills, like for example, OSPI is to make rules around particular implementation of law, we wait until we receive those bulleted updates from OSPI before we have any sort of detailed knowledge about what that'll look like.
Yeah,
So we patiently await those rulemaking by OSPI.
I think I was surprised. I didn't realize that it would be at that level and that it would be uniform coming in the handbook versus policy. So I just thought that was interesting. Thank you.
Yep.
piggyback on that question. Our student handbooks that they receive at the beginning of the year and sign it, and that they have read them and understand the policies that govern, them within that student handbook. Is it all digital now so that when we do receive any update, we can easily just update it and it's all online or on our website so that we don't have to print it out?
Yes, well, we do provide it on our website in 5 translated languages, which is accessible through the students' and parents' webpage. It is also embedded on every student's desktop on their laptop or computer for access immediately 24 hours a day for parents and students to get to. We also can print a full copy upon request at any office, at any school, or here at the district office if somebody would like a paper copy.
Okay, but as soon as we get those updates from OSPI, they can easily be inserted within our student handbook, correct?
As they become available and the date of required for implementation, yes, we would be able to do that. We do obviously have to send that document to be revised. It is a lengthy document, and we do so annually. Our actual revisions that are here are a part and will be updated for our current student handbooks, digitally speaking, for this school year. So when students get their laptops next week, they will have, if you were to approve such a thing, they will have that in their digital copy for the
Like
school.
100 and some odd pages. Just, Thank you very much.
So
Director
that,
Mason.
maybe the question is, if we were to approve this, it would be for second reading, and that would be after the distribution of laptops. Would it make more sense to approve it this evening so that it could be integrated into the new handbook?
As you have the right to adopt on first read as board. However, we have already prepared the digital copy once it was completely passed by the board for implementation digitally and on our website. So we are prepared to update it as quickly as the board is ready.
I guess I guess I'm asking about timing because the students will get their laptops before we have another board meeting to approve it. And so if it's already in there, it might make sense to approve it tonight.
Directors,
true.
if you want to approve it tonight, based on the immediate necessity of it to get it in there, we can do that.
I think the importance of it too, before kids are in school.
I will share that in our student rights and responsibilities handbooks each year, it does publish as part of the updates when things have been updated after the fact and that updates are coming. So I want to reassure the board, the digital copies, as soon as it's approved, will be updated digitally everywhere. So even if it were to go to second read and 2 more weeks went by, it will be updated on every student's laptop,
Right.
essentially the very next day.
I'm just thinking from a practical standpoint, when they get that, if they feel like they need to read it or they're forced to read it to sign off, and then it gets updated later, I'm guessing a lot of students don't check back just to see what policies have been updated. So I'm wondering if having it correct, when they get it would be a better idea.
Totally understand.
I would like to move that we
Okay, is there a motion
motion this.
to approve it without, because of the immediate nature of it?
I would like to move that we approve policy, the updates to policy 3204 this evening.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Director Mason and seconded by Director Herman to approve it this evening because of the necessity to get it on the street prior to the handbook coming down. All those in favor of the motion, or women, before that, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. There you go. It is now approved. You can release that approval
Thank you.
the next day, tomorrow, before the students get their handbook or laptops. Thank you. Moving on to section 14.04, you've got it.
The proposed revisions to this policy 5320, leave of absence, are consistent with the law and reflect the addition of religious leave as a form of leave that the district recognizes and has been included in our existing list of employee leaves identified in the policy. Proposed revisions have been reviewed by legal counsel and the superintendent's executive cabinet.
Any discussion, directors? We shall move this to second reading. Thank you.
And related to what we just previously looked at in the policy, the proposed new policy complies with RCW 116050, requiring school districts to grant up to 2 unpaid holidays per calendar year to employees requesting leave for such reasons of faith or conscience, or for an organized activity conducted under a religious denomination, church, or religious organization, unless the employee's absence would cause the district an undue hardship. The new policy 5320.3, religious leave, has been reviewed by legal counsel and the superintendent's executive cabinet.
Any discussion?
I just have a question of undue hardship and what that means to our district.
Without being legal advice, for example, if an employee was essential to a function of the district and their absence for this particular reason would create either an unsafe situation for students, something of that nature, and there was absolutely no other way to work around that, we would have the ability to not approve the leave. I think we would want to work in every possible way to work with people.
I guess I asked that because, you know, substitutes have been so difficult in the past several years to come up with. And, you know, if there was a large group at a particular school, whether that would constitute an undue hardship. But it sounds like every effort is made to not make that so.
We gotta see if HR wanted to answer anything.
Okay, gotcha. We shall move, directors, we shall move this to second reading. Very well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Frankenstein. Thank you. We'll now move to section 15.0, which is upcoming agenda items. Dr. Saltzman, would you mind introducing our upcoming agenda item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and the Board of Directors and the public. At the August 31st special meeting, the board members will participate in the work study session for the school stakeholder annual survey. And also we will give you a school, annual start of the school update. And what that update will look like is the preparation to be ready for opening day. And I think the public will enjoy that. At the September 12th regular meeting, the board agenda will contain the following: several policies for review, summer school start of school update, the 2024 bid list, the Volunteers of America rental agreement, surplus technology and electronics, and also the canceled warrants. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saltzman. We'll now move to section 16.0, which is executive closed session. There is no executive or closed meeting scheduled for this meeting. Moving to section 17.0, that is our adjournment. This concludes the business coming before the Board of Directors for this evening. This meeting is adjourned.